God speaks to the prophet before the prophet speaks. Now, I know that's a really simple formulaic way of putting it, but think about what that means with regard to these critical theories. What did both critical theories say about the verbal content of the prophetic communication? They both say that the words come from the prophet, whereas the religious intuition or the ethical ideal comes somehow from God. And Voss is saying, no, listen, this must be affirmed clearly. God speaks to the prophet before the prophet speaks. And on the top of 217, he says this is not meant in a figurative way, but in the literal sense, it appears in various ways. So just to amplify that as simply as I know how, just as you and I use words as image bearers to communicate to one another. We stand in the pulpit and speak words. In Sunday school, we speak words. On Voss Group, we're speaking words. So that ectypal activity of the creature finds its archetype in the tripersonal God who, by the agency of the Spirit of the Son of God, speaks to prophets in words that are entirely divine in origin. It's the clearest way I know how to put it. And Voss says there are some arguments that make this clear. And the first one, he says, is that the words of Jehovah are distinguished from mute and dumb idols who cannot speak. And so the first argument is that in terms of what the prophets teach, there is an absolute antithesis between the living and true God, Jehovah, and the idols. And that turns on the fact that the idols are not only dumb, but they are mute.
Right.
They do
can't
not speak. They do
Yeah.
not disclose anything. There's no revelation that comes from them. In contrast,
Well, what would be
to the words of Jehovah.
Well, that's an interesting way to say not only dumb but mute. I mean, I don't know if the distinction is intended here, but it's not just that they can't speak; they don't have any words to say.
Right.
So because they're inanimate.
Yeah, there's inability due to the inanimate character of the idol. And so you've got something, if you could think of it this way, this inert, dead thing that's been formed by the hands of man, the idol, versus the living and true God who, by whose word all things were brought to be. And so I think one of the texts that's really helpful here is Isaiah 41, 22 through 26.
Mm-hmm. So Isaiah 41 at 22 says, "Let them bring them and tell us what is to happen. Tell us the former things, what they are, that we may consider them, that we may know their outcome, or declare to us the things to come. Tell us what is to come hereafter, that we may know that you are gods. Do good or do harm, that we may be dismayed and terrified. Behold, you are nothing, and your work is less than nothing. An abomination is he who chooses you. I stirred up one from the north, and he has come. From the rising of the sun, and he shall call upon my name. He shall trample on rulers as on mortar, as the potter treads clay, who declared it from the beginning, that we might know, and beforehand that we might say, he is right. There was none who declared it, none who proclaimed, none who heard your words."
Yeah, see, so the accent there is on the utter and unqualified impotency of the idols. Jeremiah 10:5. This is a great one. Like a scarecrow in a cucumber field are they, and they cannot speak. There's your point. It's not that they do not speak, it's that they cannot speak. They must be carried because they cannot walk. Do not fear them, for they can do no harm, nor can they do any good. And this is set over against the word of Jehovah, so that on the bottom of 217, that first paragraph, the top of 217, the bottom of that paragraph on the top of the page, the difference lay precisely in this point, that in paganism, There was no objective speech coming from the gods to the prophets because the whole structure of pagan religion and revelation lacks reality.
Right.
And this is the thing that really lays the axe to the root of the kernel theory and the divination theory, because those those theories take universal religion to be of a piece. And what the prophets are saying is there's no such thing here as universal religion. There's an antithesis between the living and true God who speaks and interprets his mighty deeds versus the impotent, mute, uh, powerless idols.